Good morning once again. So that meditation was really beautiful for us to get connected to what we're going to speak about this morning. And in different faiths, when it comes to the divine, there are many ways in which the divine is being described or talked about. But the one beautiful image that I like is that, or saying, that comes from a very deep sense of clarity that I am created in the image of the divine. And so if we think about it, we explored a little bit last week about my own authentic self. And the clarity I have in terms of who I am, and I connect to the source of my own true being, then it is from that being that I have sight or insight to actually see. And so when we can see, it's beautiful that we have a mirror. And that mirror then allows us to be able to look at ourselves and do the things that we need to do. For example, when we wake up and we kind of didn't quite do our hair properly, the mirror helps us to see what we need to change. And so I want to take away that whole feeling of the divine as a form where we are fearing and we are creating a sense of, you are there and supreme and I am here and I'm nothing. That kind of way we've created a huge gap between ourselves and the divine. And I'm using the word divine so that we'll just keep it neutral, but some people will refer to that source as God, the supreme being, Allah, Jehovah, Shiva. It really doesn't matter. This is something you can choose to think about in your own way. But what is powerful for us to connect with is that source of ultimate truth, the divine, is a mirror for us, so that on our journey to awaken ourselves, I am able to be guided to bring back that clarity of who I really am. If I follow any human being, I might pick up some of their weaknesses and confuse myself. The beauty of the divine is that the divine has never had a physical form that leans to a specific gender, a nationality, an age, culture. And so because of that, this is the only source that is absolutely neutral. And together with being neutral, the source also doesn't actually have any agenda. And I think this is something very important for all of us, because we tend to feel a little bit when we interact with people, if they're even too nice to us, what do you want? So this is one source that has no duality, because the source itself is complete. And it is from such a source that we're able to have clear vision of ourselves. Now, when you think about relationships with divine, it seems like almost something we don't do, because in our traditional cultural ways, we have always had a distance between ourselves and the divine. So you go into a holy space and you would be very respectful and you would keep your distance, mind your P's and Q's, and you would just be there as an obedient child or whatever, or a follower. And I want to take away that kind of rigid sense, because the divine, as we have been talking about in the past, and especially what I've been learning, is that it's a source of peace, an ocean of love, unlimited happiness, joy, wisdom, and power. And nothing in that qualities gives me a feeling that the divine is someone who's strict, who's going to punish, who's going to create some kind of barrier. And so the whole approach to someone who is so loving and peaceful shouldn't have any rigidity. In fact, when we think of the divine, for myself, and when I think of the divine, it actually softens me up. It allows me to rest and become relaxed, because it's like a source that brings me back to my own innocence. And it makes me forget even the things that I've done, which I'm sometimes not proud of. But it allows me, like a mother, just to sit in a mother's lap and let whatever pain there is to just be soothed. So this is something so beautiful, because in the world that is becoming more and more uncomfortable, there is no one we can really go to physically, because everyone is going through their own stresses and strains. And I feel that at this time, it's better for me to have be more equipped with my own qualities and be more self-sufficient, so that at this time, when humanity is going through difficulties, I can be a support rather than be someone who needs other people's support. And to actually fulfill that, connecting with the source actually is going to help me so much to go deeper into my own being and bring out the qualities. The definition that we also spoke about last week was that I, the soul, am also a being of peace and love and happiness and joy and wisdom and power. And so obviously those qualities are in me, but something is maybe in the way for it to have its full expression. And in this way, I see the relationship where I engage with divine, firstly as a parent. And in the parent also, I'd like to make the divine both genders, mother and father. And so in the form of father, when I connect to the divine, I get the deep sense of my own self-respect, of belonging to someone who is in himself a being that is loved by all, someone who can take care of me, gives me my name, gives me my identity. And so I have a deep sense of respect. So one is that I feel safe and secure, but the result of feeling the love of a father gives me a deep sense of self-respect as well. And then on the other hand, when I connect with the divine as my mother, the beauty of a mother is that you can go in whichever form. The mother has that unlimited care and compassion that can actually finish all the kind of hurts and pains that we experience. And so when I'm healed within myself, I go into the world being more compassionate and being more caring, instead of wanting the compassion of someone else. And so these are two relationships, and I'd like to talk a little bit more about the other relationships. But I just want to draw your attention that as we interact with divine and draw on those different relationships, what's actually coming out from that relationship is a quality inside of me. So again, it's not that that relationship is making me dependent, that I need the divine as my mother and I need the divine as my father. But in my creating that relationship, already something inside of me is emerging. And so it's empowering me, which is really what's beautiful. Something that I thought was for me beautiful, because in this birth of mine, I've not had a physical child in a sense. I've not been a mother in that way. And I found that just the idea of when I look at how mothers completely surrender themselves to their children, and it's so beautiful to see that a mother may be tired, may be exhausted, whatever it is, but when her child needs her attention, she can surrender herself in such a beautiful way. A mother will first think about the need of her child before her own. And for me to be able to become so selfless, to become the parent and have this beautiful child like the divine, and what kind of awareness will I hold if I'm keeping my child in front of me, and my child is such a beautiful source of peace and love, And I want to nurture and uphold that. And if my mind is constantly going back to creating a connection with that child of mine, imagine the beauty I would be creating inside of my own mind to nurture that child. So to nurture a child, or who I would say is divine, it actually brings out divinity in me. And so it's not like an effort I'm making to try and be good, but it's drawing out of me beautiful virtues that do exist. You know, we all know that when it comes to a desperate situation, a do or die situation, we're amazed at what comes out of us. And every human being has that potential, that ability to rise to the occasion, because there is already those qualities inside of us. Either we've just become a little bit unaware of ourselves, or we've become too used to others doing it for us, and so we stayed back. And so I feel when we engage with the divine in these different relationships, we also bring ourselves to another level. And for myself, even though I've not had children, this relationship with the divine as my child has really been very special for me, to help me draw some other qualities in me that I would have said only life's experiences could have brought out. And so it's important for each one of us. There are areas in our lives that we feel we need to enhance. And if we can see which relationships can bring those up, in your mind first, think about that relationship with the divine. You know, make the divine your mother, your father, your friend, your beloved, your child. And as you rethink about those relationships, because the divine is someone who will never let you down, is a perfect source, it allows you then to bring out the best. So when it comes to trust of a friend, there's no way the divine will have any motivation to betray that trust, because there's no selfish motives, there's no fear. And then it allows me to know that I can actually depend on someone who is so amazing. And that, just to know that I can depend on someone, brings a natural confidence in my life. What I've noticed in my own journey is that each one of us, and I really, when I'm saying each, I'm talking about myself, needs a deep sense to be understood, to be realized. And so if we don't do it ourselves, then we will find other people to do it for us. And that's why people tend to move towards relationships in the world that can be there for us, who will cover our back, you know, those kind of things. But it's very possible for us that, knowing the qualities that we have, and when we look at the spectrum of qualities, we start off with the quality of peace, purity, love, and we go to the other side, which is power and wisdom. So from the heart, we move to the head. And so we have all the spectrum of qualities within ourselves. If we consider that, guess what? We have everything we need. There's nothing that we would be getting from anyone. So the way I am designed, in a sense, the divine design of me already has everything. I just need to tap into the right relationships to be able to draw that out. And you know, we say some people bring out the side of me. And so when I engage in my relationships with the divine, that divinity can bring out every aspect, every facet of the diamond that I am. And so I'm inviting you today just to explore during your day, as you do different things, to bring in those different relationships. Like when you're making yourself a cup of tea, you can bring that relationship of the divine as your mom, making that cup of tea for you and you enjoying it. When you driving to work, that feeling of your friend, the divine as your companion, and you going with someone and enjoying the journey, instead of feeling that, we are in our head all the time, having to do things ourselves and think it through. Let that feeling of having that company of someone that really understands you be with you. Now, I'm not talking about it as being an imagination, please. It's really literally when we create this image of the divine, it's a source of absolute peace, love, happiness, joy, wisdom, power, a source that doesn't lack anything, a source that is so balanced that doesn't need anything from outside. And so when I tap into that source, I take whatever it is I need and feel like you can take. And as you take it, then allow that then to bring out the best in you as well. And in this way, what happens is that I'm actually building my own capacity. So when that capacity of the self is built, whatever I then think about, there's no doubt that will emerge. There's no weakness that will arise because I'm already coming from a background that feels safe and secure. Everything that I need is already accounted for, and I feel I can rely on the resources that I have. So then when I create goals for myself, I'm actually going with a double engine. I don't feel, okay, I really have the heart, I want to do it, but I'm not sure if in between I'm going to need something. So this preparation of creating and rekindling this relationship with the divine in a way is making my foundation a little bit more secure. Then whatever I want to grow on that foundation will be very easy, because at that point, when you're in the motion of putting whatever you want to into practice, there's no doubt whether your resources will reach there or not. So yeah, I want to stop there. Invite Sister Devendra if she has something to just add on or clarify or input.
Thank you very much. Not so much adding on, but I just want to ask you to just touch a little bit more on an aspect which I feel is really important. When you were speaking about, not having the type of relationship with the divine in which there's no guilt, there's no fear, there's no shame. And being able to separate the self from human opinion and past human experiences and not allow those things to, in a sense, affect the potentially fresh, unique way in which we can engage in a very clean and untarnished way with the original source, the ultimate source. So I'll be interested to hear a little bit more about that, because I feel that that's one of the huge milestones to overcome in engaging in the relationship, those personal barriers internally first.
So, what I found is that because when we are on our journey and we've made certain mistakes or we've, perhaps blundered a bit, what happens is that the first person that really makes us into the victim is ourselves, because we've always known the truth about our being. In a sense, the blueprint of my ultimate perfection lies inside of me. There's that one element, one quality within the soul, which is wisdom. So actually, I know the purest state of my own self. And as a result of that, what's happening is that when I misstep, and I don't want to use the word mistake, I want to just use this word misstep from the direction of my own truth. What really happens is that, how you want to say to yourself, oh, I shouldn't have done it. So that element is what we then project onto our relationship with the divine. So in our last week's work, I think the important things we did, like valuing the self. And we used a lot of time in exploring my own authentic state of being. So when I can really spend time in silence, honoring myself and valuing myself, and you're right, actually, this idea of what will other people think, and that kind of stuff. But when I'm actually feeling safe about me, and I think this journey about spending time with the self doesn't just happen in 5 days. It is something we need to constantly be adding little at a time. Like a homeopathic remedy, they diluted it to quite a great extent, and they give you very small quantities over a period of time. But the magic of that remedy is that these little drops actually has a way in which it transforms. It also removes sometimes the things that are painful, and it emerges it, but it's actually emerging it so that it goes away. So when we embark in this kind of relationship, you may find that sometimes the old feelings will come. But it's at this point, we need to almost hold our own hand and trust that the authentic being is free from all of those qualities. And so it's almost like we can't let ourselves down, and have the courage to know that if I depend on if I maintain that respect for myself, then nobody else can actually do anything. So I really think that this projection that we have of the divine as someone who is going to punish us or condemn us, it's not really coming from the divine, but it's actually that part of me where I betrayed myself because I know how beautiful I am, or I was maybe, and I forgot it. And so I feel that taking a little bit more time every day and bringing that trust back, that this is really my true self, let that self-respect start surfacing. And as I do that, and there's another thing I find that's very beautiful, is that give yourselves small little things to do. And when you do it well, hold on to those, because there may have been one or two actions that repeat in our mind about what we've done. And it's almost like those actions incriminate us each time. So we're like digging our own grave each time we think of the past. We have to just remember the past was just like a step we took in a direction that we didn't know, we were unaware of. But now I've changed my compass. I'm already directed to the true north. And so every time I move forward, I'm going closer to my direction. And that's something I need to offer myself, that pardoning, to let the past be in the past. But the work we need to do is every day add that little drop of seeing my goodness, honoring myself, bringing that values to the conscious mind, and then creating thoughts based on those qualities. Okay, so I think in a way, instead of doing a separate meditation, I think what we can do is use this time as we listen to the song as well, to actually hold this beautiful vision of myself, and then bring this vision of the self in front of the divine. And what is powerful is that when I'm seeing or when I'm facing the divine in that way, the light of the divine will also sometimes create that feeling that, do I need to be so powerful? And that will actually make us a little scared. But what I like is that there's no expectations. And I can just slowly add whatever I want, because I am still the child. And I think some of you may have remembered that movie Lion King, where Simba's father walks and his paw is really great. And then the little cub tries to put his little paw in his father's footstep, and you think, oh, no, I can't really step into that paw. That's a very big step to fill. And we can feel like that when we think about God as being, or the divine being so awesome that I can't be that, I'm just little. It's not about little and big. It's just about working from a pure space. And as soon as I give myself the opportunity to be my real self, that gap will be filled. So, one thing I feel we must be kind to ourselves is don't even think that I want to be like anyone. Just have this feeling, I want to be me authentically. And then that's a good step to start off with. Okay, so I think if we could play the song and then use that time to meditate and reflect on our relationship with the divine in that way.
If you could see what I see, you'd lose your breath for sure. You are the perfect replications and the ones that I adore. I carved you from a diamond and polished you with love. Then I sent you out beyond the veil so you might choose the love. Oh, my sweet creations, your beauty makes me weep. Oh, my sweet creations, the whole world's at your feet. And one day soon you'll see it. If you could see what I see, you'd never lose your smile. For you walk in my own footsteps when you walk that second mile. These are more than words, my love. This is poetry divine. My signature is everywhere, for all of life is mine. One day you'll see what I see, and you'll come to realize that every tear you ever cried I wiped from my own eyes. I know your every feeling and I felt your every joy. But you and I are one, my child, still illusion was the choice. If you could see what I see, you'd lose your breath for sure. You are the perfect replications, You're the ones that I adore.
So that was God singing to us, or the divine, and hold that image of you being that diamond. Have a beautiful day.
Thank you so much.